I know 7 tongues, dialects spanning from High Haven to Caliph, from beasts to mongrels, to the high elves thought gone, and I didn't recognize a syllable, said Farsyth, a slender and rugged man with piercing eyes and dark complexion, as he casually continued stringing a bow as tall as he was. It felt evil, is why we're a bit concerned, Brun said. It was definitely some evil, Forn said. What? Fane asked, laughing. I'm fine. I was just trying to recall something. Fane felt the warmth leave his face and his mind grew fuzzy. He tried to search for the words he was aiming for, but failed. Give me just a moment, he said, reaching into the purple sack strapped to his belt. Everyone was silent. The sack was a strange item he picked up from an old friend. Sometimes it seemed only the size of a coin purse, but other times it looked as big as a potato sack. But the looks of the size didn't matter. The inside of it was a space altogether separate from that which surrounded it. Fane found it quite handy, since he was something of a pack rat. He leaned further in, reaching to find it. Half of his upper body disappeared within the sack, and his voice came echoing out from it to his still traumatized friends. He sounded far away, as if he were shouting across a field. Believe me, my friends, he said, this will be worth the wait. Once I've added the finishing touches, we'll be much the better for it. It was a peculiar sight, a man partially disappearing into a sack attached to his own body. Aha! I have it, he said, shooting back out from the sack, holding a slightly smaller purple sack, which looked exactly like the one he pulled it from. The only thing special about this sack was its contents. He carefully opened it and pinched a good bit of the powder housed within with his fingers. He thrust forth the opposite hand, casting open the metal lid of the glowing red cookware and thrust the powder into the opening. Nothing happened. Ta-da, Fane said, pouring each of the now confused onlookers a cup. What did you put in that? Brund asked. It is a rare spice, from far on the other side of Aerith. Where's that? Farsyth asked, setting aside his bow. It's even further than your homeland. You wouldn't have heard of it, Fane answered, forcing the hot cup into his reluctant hand. Farsyth looked unsettled. Brund got his and immediately began pouring it out, not even waiting for Fane to turn away. Forn sniffed his. He turned to Fane, giving an approving nod. It smells good, he said. It is good, Fane said, nodding. In fact, it's excellent. It is a mixture of rare spices, ground finely into a powder. It consists primarily of a particular delight the locals called vanilla. Never heard of it? Farsyth said dryly, warily trying a sip. I told you you wouldn't have, Fane said absently as he sipped his own, enjoying every bit of the hot, sweet beverage as it warmed him from the inside. Oh, he said. There is a cup for you too, Sharn. Let her sleep, Brun said. She needs it, after all she's been through. She needs hazel bean and vanilla, Fane corrected him. Also, she isn't asleep. She hasn't been all night. Brun stared at him. How did you know I didn't sleep? The girl asked, rolling quickly into a standing position, a dagger clutched in each hand. How could you? He asked. You would be a fool to trust us, even if we did get you out of that pit they had you locked in. You don't strike me as being foolish enough to trust a group of strangers. Also, I didn't really know. Not until you confirmed it anyway. He smiled at the girl. Now go on and drink your hazelnut, he said, thrusting it into her hand, despite the fact she was still clutching the dagger. Fane returned to the fire, reclining to enjoy his drink. They all sat silently, thinking to themselves. Sharn must have liked the drink, as she finished it even before Fane finished his. Forn and Farsyth also finished theirs. Brund occasionally looked over at them, with a hint of regret at pouring his out. What's for breakfast? Brund asked. Eggs and bacon, Forn jested. Such words in times as these are enough to provoke me, human. Forn laughed. Maybe after you finish growing, Forn said. Finish growing? Brund shouted. Or when maybe after you go to sleep and begin dreaming, Forn added. You've never fought a dwarf, have you? Brund asked, smiling and forcing a fisted hand into his opposite palm. I may be half your size, but I'm more than twice your strength, though I may have to stretch first, he said, standing up. I got old knees. Old knees in a youngling's body, Forn retorted. Enough, Farsythe said. If you two keep blowing smoke, you may start a fire you can't put out. And we don't need any more enemies at the moment, do we? Not a one, Forn answered. Enemies aren't made, they're discovered, Brund said. And after that, they're dealt with.